There are two kinds of games that exist in the current market. There are your casual games and your time sinks. Casual games are things such as Call of Duty, For Honor, Hitman, etc. I don't mean casual in the sense of designed for the lowest common denominator or easy. I mean casual time commitment. If you like mauling people in Hitman or shooting people in the style of Call of Duty, you're able to figure that out within an hour of playing the game. The games present the core experience up front. If you like the upfront experience, you will probably like the game, and if you don't, you probably won't. The other side of this equation are your time sinks. This is when the initial game is not necessarily representative of the main appeal. Take Minecraft as an example, and hear me out. The first hour of Minecraft is just building stuff, and that appears to be as far as the game goes. Someone may experience this and think, I don't like remembering all these things I gotta craft, or redstone is too confusing. If you were to continue playing this game, you would discover things such as Minecraft servers, mods, etc. If it isn't obvious enough, something like Winecraft is very different compared to standard Minecraft, even though both are part of the same game. Examples of these time sink sort of games are Warframe, most MMOs, and Arma 3. Now, why in the world did I decide to start a review of 2021's No Man's Sky with those two paragraphs on those two types of games? It's to warn you the kind of player No Man's Sky appeals to. It absolutely appeals to the people who will sink an extreme amount of time into this game. No Man's Sky is an RPG with functioning multiplayer. You can absolutely play this game without ever connecting to the internet and still get the No Man's Sky experience of remembering the vastness of our world and how we are a somewhat significant speck on the grand stage of the universe, and realize that no matter how much advancement you put into this game, it never ends. There is always something needs recharging or collecting in order to make your base that much livable and your trade fleet actually competent at something. With that very long disclaimer out of the way, let's start the review. So, No Man's Sky is one of those more relaxing games on the market. That was my impression back in 2016 when I got this game on my PS4. I loaded up the PC version and I viewed this beautiful cinematic of this cold world. Then I remembered that climate could kill you and was informed that
we have about 2.5 minutes of astronaut fuel before we end up like a Texan on Valentine's of 2021.
I scrambled to find something red to fuel life support, then I realized red things in general didn't work, and then found something yellow and it worked, and now we're back to being relaxed. The first hours of the game are the same as 2016. Get the ship flying. Once you do get it up and running, it actually is a very relaxing experience. Exploring the world is enjoyable. It is an absolute beauty on PC. There are new buildings to explore, ruins that have been improved, bases to build, ships to buy. There is a lot of content available. Oh, good to know that the crashes are still in the game. For those who don't know, this game crashing was a very common experience, especially on the PlayStation. I usually let 2 crashes pass without judgment, so we'll see if it crashes again. Anyway, mining in the old version was extremely grindy and boring. All you would need is red materials and the occasional yellow ones. In 2021, you still need those things, in less quantities, and now you need some blue materials. Most craftables require these 3 materials alongside rocks. This leaves the crafting of this game simple enough that it is easy to comprehend and still require at least some variety of materials to get your essentials, without said variety being too much of a burden to collect. That was a voice crack. That is the second crash. I decided after this to forget the ice world and hyperjump to the nearby Philippines, the planet. I thought this plan was pretty enough to build a base, so I started to do that. So why did I talk about my first experience in 2-ish paragraphs? The reason was twofold. First, it was give people a look into the first hours of the No Man's Sky experience to see if they would actually enjoy it. Second, it was a transition to a simple question. Why? Why in the world should I use my precious time and energy doing all of these busy works? Originally, the answer was get to the center of the universe. That was it. Everything you did in between was absolutely meaningless. With 4 years and a couple of months of updates later, there are more answers to the question, why? Goals in this game can range from completing quests to upgrading your trade fleet to traveling in the center of the universe if you still feel like it. By having so many things to work towards, the game hardly ever gets boring, and the player hardly wastes any time. Everything has some value in it, from construction, farming, looting, digging, recruiting, exploring, and other activities. That core gameplay loop is still present though, but it has been significantly improved. There are a lot more places to explore, things to collect, and sentinels aren't just a random nuisance that happens once in a while, but are now more annoying than a fellwinter ape. As an example of some new things to do, ships lost in space are a thing. Now you may be wondering why in the world are there two screens. That's because I played this in VR. I'll get to the VR part later. Anyway, I got a lost transmission and was tasked with finding a ship. I pulled out of hyperspace to a dark ship. I was thinking I was going to revamp the ship and turn it to some personal freighter. No, this was an alien murder mystery. The crew was dead. No one has any idea why, and it was my job to loot it. I was in creative mode, meaning I did not have to worry about dying. I'll also call it for creative mode later. Even then, I thought I entered into a horror game with how creepy this ship was.
I know there's no risk to me, but this is a lot creepier in VR.
Will you be as creeped out as I was? Probably not. Honestly, the VR assisted in the scare factor. This is to give a taste of how No Man's Sky plays in 2021. I did not know about this event until I replayed No Man's Sky. Even though I have spoiled one event that could happen, I'm not going to elaborate on any more secrets. That's something you'll have to discover for yourself. Honestly, that's pretty much it for how No Man's Sky plays. It is a, usually, relaxing exploration game filled with pretty planets, boring planets, and creatures. There are hardcore and permadeath modes if you're into those things, and creative mode is for people that want to experience the game without grinding or dying. Even with no risk and hardly any work, creative is still entertaining enough for me to put in who knows how many hours. I'll have to check later. If you're up to it, all of this can be played or switched to VR. I tested this on an Oculus Rift, and it plays pretty well. I had one issue involving inverted flight controls, and flying the ship in the VR the first time will probably cause motion sickness, but other than that, it is No Man's Sky in VR. A good thing about it is that it isn't its own game that you have to purchase again, unlike, some very popular AAA RPGs out there. For the past, 1,368 words, I have been talking about the positives of No Man's Sky. Most of those go out the window once players are involved. This is not due to the players or the game itself, but simply due to the multiplayer exclusive bugs that occur. If single player is No Man's Sky, multiplayer is No Man's Land of quality control. Most of these bugs are probably related to the netcode. Regardless though, they will get annoying very, very fast. Now the primary feature of multiplayer in general is the anomaly. This is a hub of multiplayer missions and visiting the bases of other players. There is another aspect of multiplayer called community expeditions, but that's just simply No Man's Sky single player with people for a limited amount of time. So is it worth getting? That is still a coin toss to the value of your money. The primary flaw of No Man's Sky is the price. It is still, after 4 years, $60. Don't get me wrong, those $60 get more from this game than it did years prior, but it's still AAA price. Granted, AAA really doesn't mean much in the era of microtransactions and season pass deals and constant updates, but the value of this game, in my absolutely always right, humble opinion, barely reaches $60 quality. If this game ever goes on sale to even something as small as $55, I'd recommend buying it. So that is No Man's Sky, a pricey, lonely, and entertaining adventure game filled with secrets and randomly generated wonders and bugs. I'm Ash Awesome. Goodbye. I hope you'll like the new microphone quality. My PC's 3.5mm jack for my old microphone didn't work, so instead I had to get a new USB microphone. So I hoped you liked it. Beats hearing this for the rest of the video. Anyway, goodbye.